Welcome to Star Trek Asterisk, the weekly podcast where we watch Star Trek and then talk about it. I am Steve. You can find me on Twitter at Lord Steve.
I'm Zach, and I'd like to be under the sea in an octopus's garden. In the shade. In the shade.
Okay, as long as it's in the shade.
Yes.
That's would
That's right.
not do for it to be under the sun.
Yeah. It's hot.
This week we watched a couple of episodes from season 2 of Star Trek: The Next Generation. We saw A Matter of Honor, The Measure of a Man, and The Dauphin. Dauphin. That's just I don't know how they come up with that word without that coming directly to mind. The first one, The Matter of Honor, is basically like a foreign exchange program with Riker and a Klingon. They didn't actually have a Klingon on the Enterprise, though, did they?
No,
I thought they were going to, but they didn't.
they didn't do that. So they just sent Riker to Germany. I mean the Klingon vessel. Did I say that out
Yeah.
loud?
Yeah, but yeah, basically it's just there's an officer exchange program, and which brings Mendon aboard, which Wesley thinks because he's so racist that it's Murdoch, which he met at the what was it, the Starfleet
The entrance exam
the
stuff.
entrance exam stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
he thinks it's Murdoch, but it's actually a guy from the same species, Mendon,
They all
and
look alike anyway.
basically. So he comes on board and he basically screws some things up, and but whatever, it's whatever. Uh, Meanwhile, referencing the same officer exchange program, while Picard and Riker are practicing their phaser firing, Riker says, "Oh, I'd like to be in the exchange program. I'd like to go on to this Klingon ship that's nearby." So he transfers over to the Klingon ship because the Federation and the Klingons, they're under what do you call it, a treaty now, so they're friends.
Sure.
So he goes onto the Klingon ship and he basically takes his place as first officer. Before he does that, Worf tells him a little bit about Klingon culture and how if you want to move up in rank, you kill the captain because he's not doing his duty, so he deserves to die. And and then Riker tastes a bit of Klingon cuisine before going over, and then he goes over
Well, no, cuisine's a strong word.
Klingon gach.
Yeah.
That's basically the best word for Klingon food that you could ever make up. Gach.
All right.
So he goes over to the Klingon ship and he fits in pretty nicely, actually.
Mm-hmm.
He gets challenged by some of the Klingons. They basically call him a baby.
Yeah, the guy that's like directly underneath him challenges him, and he whips his ass.
Basically, yeah. And and the one female Klingon officer that they have on board says that she'll take him.
Yeah.
So it's basically what Riker does,
Pretty much.
getting the women and challenging the men. Meanwhile, Mendon finds out that there was this what do they call it? The thing that ate through the Klingon ship.
It was some. It was like. It was space bacteria, is what it
Space
was.
bacteria. We'll
Space
call it that.
algae. It got on the boat.
Mendon finds this stuff and realizes that it was on the Klingon vessel, but he doesn't say anything about it because it's his species protocol to research it first and not to tell anyone about it until it's fully researched. So he stays silent about it. Someone else finds out about it, tells Picard, and Picard's like, "Mendon, why didn't you tell us about this?" And he's like, "Well, didn't think it was important. And he gets in trouble.
Yeah.
And Wesley tries to befriend him, and say it's all right, it'll be fine. But no, it's not going to be fine. We never see Mendon again.
No.
I assume he is sentenced to life imprisonment on Rura Penthe, but whatever. It's we'll see. Um, so they go back to they head on back to the Klingon ship just to warn them that we've got the space bacteria problem. We think you're infected. Um, Meanwhile, the Klingon ship finds that the space bacteria has eaten through their hull, so they blame the Enterprise for it and say, okay, they attacked us with the space bacteria. Now we have to go and challenge them and defeat them. And Riker, as the first officer now on this ship, says, "What? Whoa, hold on. This is my ship. We can't just go and blow it up." So this whole thing about where his loyalty lays goes on, um, and then the Enterprise arrives, and the Klingon ship cloaks, and Riker has to deal with the Klingons not trusting him, but he has to save the Enterprise while at the same time not going against his oath, and it's just a whole big deal. And
It's a whole mess of stuff.
it's a whole mess. And eventually, Riker takes out this little device and turns it on, and the Klingon's like, "Is that a weapon?" And Riker's like, "No, it's not a weapon." The Klingon commander says, "Give me it." The Klingon commander takes it, and turns out it's a transponder that Worf picks up on, and Picard's like, "O'Brien, lock onto that transporter and beam whoever's holding it aboard." The Klingon commander beams on board the Enterprise bridge. With him gone, Riker takes command of the Klingon ship and basically says, "Hey, Enterprise, this is the captain of the Klingon ship, whatever it's called. I don't remember. Lower your weapons and surrender." And Picard's like, "Oh, ha, it's just Riker. We're
Yeah.
all right. We're okay." And that was basically it.
Yeah.
It's basically a Riker episode. We see what Riker is made out of in this.
And
Yes,
we
so-
discover that Riker is made mostly out of beard.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. When the Klingon commander is transferred back over to the Klingon ship, he gives Riker a big clock on the jaw, and we discover exactly how sturdy that beard is.
That's true. That beard can withstand a Klingon punch in the face.
Which is something.
Yeah.
What did you think?
I thought it was okay, but I don't know why, it just seemed like maybe because there wasn't a whole lot of substance to the episode. It was more of like a learning about Riker and Klingons. It seemed kind of short to me.
Yeah,
Like it
Kinda.
Yeah. This is like a filler episode.
it did. It did seem there wasn't like a whole, complicated thing to it. It was pretty straightforward, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was good because I don't think we really understood much about the Klingons at this point from the original series movies standpoint.
Yeah.
Um, where were we? Like number 3 or 4 by this point,
Yeah, I think so.
something like that.
Yeah.
So
The point is, we hadn't gotten to the point where we learned from the original series movies that Klingons were actually inside of in their own right, very civilized.
right, right,
You know, because we hadn't gotten to the point where they had signed the treaty with us.
right. So this is a good way to see that Klingons actually they have a structure to their um, society that we really haven't explored as much yet.
Yeah.
And and Riker is a good person to contrast with that because he's more of the gruff, unshakable kind of human, more like Kirk than Picard is, you know.
Yeah. You're right.
So yeah, I think it was a good way to introduce the Klingon way to the next generation. The next episode is a Data episode, The Measure of a Man. And this is the episode in which we decide what Data is, because we know he's an android, but it's not until someone comes up and says, I want to study this thing as a thing,
Yeah.
that we have to decide, okay, is he a thing after all?
Yeah.
And who's the guy who challenges this? It's
No, it's some jerky jerk face that wants to tear him apart
yeah,
and see what he's literally made of.
right. I'm trying to find his name. I can't find it though. Is it Commander Maddox? Is it? No, that's. Anyway,
Anyway.
yeah, it's Maddox. Um, he approaches Picard, and he says, "I want to disassemble Data and study him because his creator, Dr. Noonien Soong, is supposedly dead, so he's not continuing his work. So Maddox has to continue the work that Soong was doing. In order to do that, he needs to understand the work that he accomplished."
Right.
And he says he believes that the best way to do this is to disassemble and study Data. I should note that this episode starts off with Data playing poker.
Oh yeah, they were in the room that apparently they'd never heard of a reservation because they were sitting in the same room that the poker dogs usually have.
Yes, yes. And Data notes that he's studied all the rules. He knows he believes the game to be simple, but he still loses.
Yep.
Because he doesn't understand the nuances of bluffing and all these poker related things that I actually have no idea about because I've never played the game.
Really? You've never played poker?
I might have played it once or twice, but I never actually understood it.
Oh, Steve,
You know.
it's okay. We'll fix that later.
But anyway, that comes up later. That there's a big difference between knowing a thing and actually experiencing a thing. That he makes that point later on to Maddox. So there's this the commander of the what is it, the station that they're at. She has a history with Picard, and they basically established that she's kind of a hard-nosed judicial type of person,
Yeah.
and she wants to make good laws or whatever she wants to do.
Whatever. She's a legislator. She's no good.
Right. Yeah. So when it comes to the point where when it comes to Maddox wants to study Data on the basis that Data is Starfleet's property, it goes to her to decide whether or not Data actually is the property of anyone.
Right.
So she decides she studies the law and comes to the decision that he is in fact Starfleet's property. But Picard says, "Okay, I want to challenge that." In order to do that, she has to set up a hearing in which Riker would, because he's the
He's the next in the chain of command
yeah,
from Picard.
he would have to be the, what is it? It's not. Is it the defendant? No.
No, he wouldn't. He
He
wouldn't.
would. He
He
would be
would
the
be. He would be prosecuting.
prosecuting. Yeah.
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah. Basically, he's the one who has to come up with the arguments against Data's sentience.
Right.
Obviously, Riker really doesn't want to do this, but it's either that or go with her summary judgment that Data is the property of Starfleet. So, reluctantly, Riker takes the job, and swears to do the job as best as possible. So it comes to the judging time. It comes to the courtroom, and basically Riker's big defense, the best thing he can do is demonstrate that Data has an off button.
Yeah. Pretty much. That's it. That's all he's got.
He takes apart Data's arm and shows it to the court and says, "Okay, Data is a thing made by humans. He's a machine, and now a human will turn him off." And he flips a switch, and Data powers down.
Yep.
And apparently, that is a very good argument.
Well.
I make the argument that in the same way that you can turn Data off, you can also give a human a Vulcan neck pinch. And it's basically the same.
Well, Picard, continue and tell us how you defend Data as a living creature.
Picard goes to 10 forward after this startling argument, and he consults with Guinan. And I don't remember anything that was said, but he basically comes to a realization that he has to prove Data's sentience. Whether or not he's a machine is
irrelevant.
immaterial.
If they create an entire army of Datas that are very useful to Starfleet, he becomes a race at that point.
Yeah.
And utilizing them as ownership that's tantamount to servitude.
Exactly.
To slavery.
Exactly.
And that's what he and Guinan talk about.
Right.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, Guinan basically says a race of Datas would be slaves. So Picard, with that idea, goes back into the courtroom and gives a big long to do with Maddox at the stand and says, "Okay, Maddox, what do you think qualifies as sentience?" And he says intelligence, consciousness, self-awareness. And
that's it. Those are the
that's
three.
It. Yeah, right.
Those are the three laws of humanity as opposed to the three laws of robotics.
And so, okay, Data is intelligent. That he's demonstrated intelligence. Self-awareness, he asks Data, "Where are you?" And Data correctly responds, "I'm in a court hearing to decide whether or not I'm the property of Starfleet." And
it could affect my freedom or even my very life.
Yes. So he answers that correctly. They never really get into consciousness. I don't think you can really.
Well, they touch on it a little bit, and when what's her name?
I don't even remember. It's
yeah, when when she's going to render her verdict, she even makes the comment. She's like, really the issue we've been dancing around is, does Data have a soul?
Yeah.
And she's like, I'm not even sure that I have a soul. And that's not for me. I don't think that's for me to decide. I think, given the evidence here, Data should have the right to pursue this on his own if he sees fit.
Correct. Yes. So, based on that, she finds in Data's favor, and So Data stands up, goes to Maddox and says, I formally deny, I formally refuse to be a part of your experiments or whatever he says.
Yep.
And,
And the guy's like, okay.
all right, fine. Basically goes off to study Soong's work on his own. And that's it, basically. I mean, there's a victory celebration in the holodeck and stuff, but we never really see it because Data goes and is it Data that goes, or was it Wesley who goes to Riker and talks about it afterward? I think
I think it was Wesley.
yeah, okay. But anyway, Riker is feeling pretty bad about defending his position so well.
Yeah.
So
Oh no, it was Data. It was Data because Riker was feeling bad about it, and the Data's like, he's like, he's like, I understand that you had to make the choice. You
Yeah.
either had to, you know, try to defend the position that was against me, or she was going to rule summarily that I was a property of Starfleet. You ultimately made the decision that saved my life, and I will never forget that.
yeah, that's true. But that's it.
Yep,
What did you think of this episode?
I like it. I
In the history of science fiction, whether or not robots can be human
or
is
are living creatures.
yeah, right,
in
right,
a broader
right.
sense.
It's an ongoing discussion, really.
It's a really sticky subject because you get into. She mentions too. She says, we've gone into a lot of different areas today, including metaphysics.
Yeah.
And that's a big one because there's things that we don't understand about us as living creatures. I mean, obviously, we are living conscious beings, but there are aspects of that we still don't understand a lot, in fact.
Yeah, yeah,
And so it really is, sort of the uh, the mystery of being human is determining what all this stuff means. And so to talk about it from an aspect of, technology and androids and robots and stuff like that, you really get into the same questions, but on a different level because we deal with it from a first person perspective. Whereas with them, we don't understand it from the perspective of these machines. We see it from a third person perspective, so it's different to us. And as humans, we feel a sense of superiority because we created this technology.
right, right.
So we were kind of playing God or
Yeah.
whatever, but it's still really interesting to see how this manifests itself in different franchises over time.
True. Yes. And I think if if we have a robot that can actually accurately establish self-awareness, like if you can put it into a new situation and it can understand what that situation is, I think that's good enough to say, okay, we should probably let him make his own decisions.
Yep.
And that's basically what this episode comes to, really.
And to quote Ken Jennings, I for one welcome our new robot overlords.
Yes. Um, as long as he doesn't hurt anyone. The next episode is the Dauphin. And yes.
Okay, I have my Dauphin.
I don't even remember what are these things called Dauphins? Is that what I don't know.
Oh, who remembers?
I don't remember them actually saying the word.
No.
So, I don't know. Whatever. In any case, this is a Wesley episode.
Oh yeah. All right, I'll start it out and then I'll throw you into it.
Okay.
All right, so we're on this diplomatic mission. We're to pick up this this girl and her governess, and we're to deliver her back to her home planet. Now, the planet she's from, originally they've been warring with each other for centuries.
Yeah.
You know, they've got these two different factions, and this girl is actually the product of a guy from one side and a woman from the other, who actually get together and have this kid, and they send the kid off to escape, so that she can come back one day and hopefully, bring peace.
Yeah.
So they go to pick her up, and she seems like a nice girl. She's very curious. Her governess, her old lady, is like angry and overly protective, as she do.
Mm-hmm.
And fine, so far so good. So they leave the transporter room. They're walking down the hall, and as they walk down the hall, Wesley walks out. The girl kind of looks at her and smiles as they go by, and she turns around and stops, and he's holding this like super electromagnet in his hand, and he's just like, "Ooh." And she goes, "You better be careful with that. It'll suck all the iron out of your blood." Because, that's sexy.
Right.
And so they continue walking, and he asks Riker, he's like, "Who is that?" It's like, "Oh, it's governess." It's like, "No, the girl." And he's like, "Oh, well, she probably doesn't have time for you, so go away, Wesley."
Shut up, Wesley.
Shut up, Wesley. So Wesley gets... Good job.
It's the eldest son of the King of France. That's what Dauphin means.
Oh, okay.
Basically, the heir to the throne.
Yes. Okay, well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So anyway, this girl, just she's like plaguing Wesley. He can't stop thinking about her. he's in his room, like trying to see if he looks okay, and trying to figure out what to say to her. And so Geordi's like, "Hey, are you okay?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm fine." Why? He's like, "Because we need that damn magnet. Bring it down here." So he goes down there, and he's working on stuff, and he's screwing around, and he's not paying attention to what he's doing. He's breaking stuff. And Geordi's like, "The hell is wrong with you?" He's like, I'm sorry, I'm thinking about something else." He's like, "Yeah, obviously." He's like, "It's this girl that beamed on the ship earlier. I really like her. I can't stop thinking about her." And Geordi goes, "Oh." He's like, "What?" He's like, "Oh, nothing." He's like, "It's just, your hormones going crazy." He's like, "Come on, Geordi. Nuh-uh." He's like, "Wesley, just go away. You're useless to me. You're going to break stuff." So he's like, "Well, I want to talk to this girl." He's like, "So go talk to her. Say, 'Hi, my name's Wesley.'" And go from there. He's like, "Well, what do I do from there?" He's like, "I don't know. I have real stuff to worry about. Go away." So he goes and starts hanging out in 10 Forward, and he's talking to Guinan for a minute about it. And then Guinan and Riker are there, and Riker starts to give his little bit of advice, and then he gets into like this back and forth with Guinan. And I mean, there's this like extremely heavily flirtation going, and they're just firing back and forth. And man, they are going at it. You expect any minute for Riker to like just take everything on the table, shove it off in the direction of Wesley, and knock him over, and then just go at it on the table with Guinan, which doesn't happen for obvious reasons. Okay, but Wesley's like, "I don't think this is my style." Guinan's like, "Shut up! I'm just mind your business," and they just keep going. So. Meanwhile, the girl, she can't stop thinking about Wesley. She's got this little crushy thing going on. Mm-hmm. And we find out her governess is actually like this shape-shifting little monster thing.
Yeah.
It's like, oh God, so this is not going to be good at all. Well, they decided to take the governess on a tour of the ship just so she can make sure that everything is safe for the girl, because she's, again, overly protective. Mm-hmm. And the girl's like, "I want to come too, so I can see Wesley." She's like, "No, you stay here." And so she says, "Fine, whatever, shut up." So she goes on her tour of the ship. They get to sickbay, and there's somebody there with, I forget what kind of disease.
Some kind of flu or something.
Some kind of, yeah. And it's a contagious disease, but because of the filtration system on the Enterprise, they don't have to worry about it. And so she's like, "Wait a second, no, you need to kill him now." And she's like, Dr. Pulse Modulation's like, no, it's fine. It's fine. The filtration system will take care of it. Is there a chance she'll get infected? Well, mathematically speaking, yeah. But kill it! And then she transforms into this thing to try to kill the patient. Worf is there, and Worf is like, oh no, this shit won't fly. And Pulse Modulator calls for security, and security runs in, and it's Picard and who was it? Oh, it was the Roots version
Oh, yeah.
of LeVar Burton. So we've got Roots, LeVar Burton, and Picard there, and then Worf stands up to the giant creature woman thing, and so she finally calms down. She's like, I could have killed you, Worf, and Worf's like, shut up, I don't care. In the meantime, the girl has snuck off and started to hang out with Wesley. And they're doing their thing. They're on the holodeck exploring all of these planets and moons and things of that nature. Mm-hmm. And they go to 10 Forward. And he introduces her to Chocolate Mousse. Was it Thalian Chocolate Mousse, I think?
I think so, yeah.
And she's like, oh, this is delicious. He's like, I know it. Shut up. So they're hanging out. The woman gets back to her, the governess gets back to her quarters, freaks out because the girl's not there. The girl's like, I was hanging out with Wesley. And she's like, no, you're not to hang out with him anymore. Get out of here. Go back to your room. And you stay away. So, fine, whatever. So, they get into it later on. And she's like, I'm old enough to make my own decisions now. She's like, I don't care. I took care of you for far too long for you to pull this kind of crap. And you're going to just, do what I tell you. And she's like, nope, not going to do it. So she sneaks back out later that night while the governess is asleep, past armed guards, and goes and starts hanging out with Wesley. The governess wakes up, finds her not there, sneaks out herself, past the armed guards, finds her, transforms like she did in the sick bay, mm-hmm. Gets ready to go attack Wesley, and then what happens?
And then the girl transforms, and they go at it Wolfman style.
Wolfman style, nice, nice.
And yeah, basically, Wesley finds out, oh my gosh, she's a shapeshifter. Humanoid might not actually be her true form. And this freaks him out because he kind of liked her humanoid form. They get to the place they were going, which is basically the planet that she was going to rule.
Right.
Because she's next in line to the throne. And Wesley, who previously wanted her to stay on the ship, is kind of standoffish now because he doesn't know how to handle this new information about her being a shapeshifter. And they have a little chat, and she basically says, well, I am who I am, and it doesn't matter what form I am, you liked me, like, so
Popeye style.
Yeah.
I am that I am, and that's all that I am.
Right. So basically, in the end, Wesley goes to see her off on the transporter, and they say goodbye, and she says, "Now you should leave because I can't beam down there in humanoid form. I have to change to my true form before I transport. So I want you to remember me as a human." Because those were the good times. And Wesley says, no, it's okay. I want to see who you really are. And then she transforms into this glowy, angel-y thing.
Yeah.
And that's what she was afraid of.
Swirly energy being thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what she was afraid of him seeing. And it appears... If I were her, I would say, oh, now look at this. And then I transform.
Right?
Right? That's what I would do. But
she's dumb.
That's how it happened. And then she beams down.
And Wesley's sad because she's gone.
Yeah, he goes.
Even though he's still kind of miffed about the fact that she lied to him.
Well, Did she lie though? I mean,
Well, she withheld the truth.
She withheld it a little, but I mean,
So it was a lie
never,
of omission.
never really came up though. You know, it was just
Well, it's like, well, he had this thing for this girl. Oh, by the way, this isn't what I really look like.
Yeah,
I just
well,
look
I
like this for
suppose.
you.
I suppose.
It's like role playing on a way creepier level.
But he goes. This is the interesting part though. He goes to 10 forward and talks to Guinan, and Guinan gives him some really good advice. It's going to hurt. Your first love failing is going to hurt, but that's first love for you.
That's how
And
that's how it is.
and each woman you encounter is going to feel different. You're going to love them, and that love will feel different, and then it's going to fail again. And then you'll find another one, and that's going to feel different.
And eventually you will find, well, I mean, not you, Wesley, but eventually you'll get numb to the pain.
And eventually you'll find the traveler, and
And then you'll just go off with him, and it will be this whole creepy thing that we'll all have seen coming.
yes, well, and that's the end. That's the end of that episode. For a Wesley episode,
For a
pretty
Wesley
good.
episode, it was all right.
yes,
For a Wesley episode, it was all right. I'll
I
give you that.
I like how it presented young love in a way that's not.
Twilight?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I had to take that dig while I had the chance.
In a way that's actually, it works on a level
Yeah.
because young love is almost never going to be the true love,
It's true.
however good it may feel.
Right.
So that's it. That's all we watched today.
Mm-hmm.
Next week we will go on to Contagion, The Royale, and Time Squared.
Yeah.
A couple of good
It's
episodes.
going to be a fun
for you.
week. I'm excited.
We did not have any messages, but if you want to leave a message, our hailing frequencies are open.
At 513 asterisk. That's 513-278-7475.
You call us about anything at any time. Google Voice will answer your message and leave it as a recording for us, and we will answer it live on the internet airwaves. That's fair, right? I mean, Wi-Fi is over the air, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're not Wi-Fi'd in here for this.
Well, whatever. In any case,
Anyway.
in the meantime, you can go to our website for more content. You can download my short story Dark Matter. You can visit our store, our YouTube channel, our Tumblr, or you can download our Windows 8 app.
Yes, you can download our app. It's available in the Windows 8 store. It's a fun app. It's a nice app. I really enjoy it because I wrote it. So, hooray for...
I mean, if you write something, you should be able to enjoy it, I think.
I thoroughly enjoy it.
Yes, good.
It's my friend.
That's all for this week. So remember to join us next week.
Yep.
And until then, remember to help control the tribal population.
Have your tribble spayed or neutered.
Live long and prosper.
Goodbye, everybody.